Barack Obama stepped onto the view stage, his signature charisma lighting up the room, his smile warm yet edged with a sharpness rarely seen since his presidency. The audience greeted him with a roar of applause. A wave of nostalgia for the man who once led the nation through economic turmoil and global crises. But today, his tone was unrelenting, his words aimed like arrows at a familiar target, Donald Trump. "Let's be real," Barack began, leaning forward in his chair, his voice smooth but biting. "Donald Trump is a pathetic loser. His deportation policy, inhumane. It's tearing families apart, leaving kids without parents, all for some tough guy act that solves nothing." The crowd erupted, cheers fueling his momentum. He didn't stop there. Turning to Trump's personal life, he smirked. "And that marriage to Melania? So fake, it's laughable. A reality show romance that's all glitter, no substance." The applause grew louder, the studio shaking with approval, each clap like gasoline on a fire. Within hours, the counterattack came. Karoline Leavitt, Trump's fiery White House press secretary, appeared on Fox News, her eyes blazing with indignation. "Barack Obama just attacked the president," she said, her voice sharp as a blade. "He picked the wrong fight. I'm ready to face him, anywhere, anytime, to expose the truth." Her challenge, delivered with razor-sharp confidence, spread like wildfire across social media. CNN seized the moment, announcing a live TV showdown on America Tonight. That evening, Barack responded calmly on X. "I'm always ready to speak the truth." Leavitt fired back instantly, her post dripping with defiance. "He'll regret opening his mouth. I'll crush him on CNN. No mercy." The America Tonight stage was set, lights flaring, opening music blaring through the CNN studio. Anderson Cooper stood at the center, his voice steady despite the electric tension in the air. "Welcome to a special evening. We have two guests, Barack Obama, former President of the United States, and Karoline Leavitt, White House press secretary." The audience clapped, but the room already buzzed with anticipation. Barack sat on the left, dressed in a tailored gray suit, his posture relaxed, faint smile playing on his lips, though his eyes carried a steely resolve honed from years in the Oval Office. Leavitt sat on the right, clad in a crisp black suit, her hands clenched on the table, her eyes burning with the intensity of a warrior ready for battle. Cooper continued. "After Mr. Obama's fierce criticism on The View, we're here to hear both sides. Mr. Obama, please begin." Before Barack could utter a word, Leavitt leaned forward, her voice cutting through the air like steel. "No need to beat around the bush, Anderson. Barack called President Trump a failure. I'm here to set the record straight, right now." The crowd gasped. Cooper flinched, attempting to interject. "Ms. Leavitt, please wait," but she barreled on, pointing at Barack, her eyes sparking with fury. "You talk about failure. Let's talk about your 8 disastrous years. Obamacare? A mess. Millions of Americans lost jobs. Businesses drowned in debt, and you sit there acting like you're above it all. I'm not here for your fairy tales." Barack raised an eyebrow, his smile briefly stiffening, but he remained composed. A veteran of political sparring, Leavitt gave him no breathing room, pressing her attack. "You call our deportation policy inhumane? I've got stats. Over 10,000 illegal criminals removed under President Trump's leadership. That's real action to protect Americans. Something you never managed." Her voice sharpened, each word a dagger. "You want to talk about tearing families apart? Ask the American families who lost loved ones to illegal immigrant crime what they think of your so-called humanity." The room exploded, boos clashing with applause. Some audience members stood shouting support for Leavitt, while others shook their heads in dissent. Cooper raised a hand, straining to restore order. "Miss Leavitt, please let Mr. Obama respond." But Leavitt smirked, turning to the crowd. "They don't want you to hear the truth, but I'll say it. President Trump built America. You, Barack, left a mountain of debt and empty promises. You're done. I'm the present, and I'm here to show the nation how wrong you are." Barack finally spoke, his voice low but sharp, cutting through the chaos. "Miss Leavitt, I don't know what fantasy you're living in, but I won't sit here listening to fabrications." He turned to Cooper. "If she wants truth, let me start." Leavitt cut in again, unrelenting. "Fabrications? You want truth? The truth is your administration left the border wide open, let criminals flood in, and now you pretend to care. I don't need your script. I've got facts, and facts don't lie. She pulled a paper from her pocket, holding it to the camera. This is an ICE report, crimes by illegal immigrants in your final year. You want to talk about tearing families apart? Tell that to those victims about who's really inhumane. She tossed the paper onto the table, her eyes daring Barack. Can you face these numbers, or do you just spin stories for applause? The audience roared again, one voice yelling, "Keep going, Karoline." Cooper banged the table. "Ms. Leavitt, we need order." But Leavitt didn't flinch, leaning closer to Barack. "You call the president's marriage fake? I'm not here to play gossip games like you. I'm here to defend a man who acts for America. Unlike you, who talked a big game but left a mess." Barack shook his head, his voice calm but edged with bite. "Ms. Leavitt, you clearly don't want to debate, just to yell." Leavitt laughed, the sound dripping with sarcasm. "Yell, no, Barack. I'm speaking truth. And you can't handle it. You've lived in an ivory tower too long, coasting on your old speeches to stay relevant. I'm different, I stand on my own, and I don't need anyone shielding me to beat you tonight." The studio trembled with the ferocity of Leavitt's assault. Cooper, struggling to regain control, turned to Barack. "Mr. Obama, Ms. Leavitt has made several accusations. Your response?" Barack sat up straighter, hands resting lightly on the table, his calm smile returning but his eyes colder than ever. He took a deep breath, his steady voice ringing out. "Ms. Leavitt clearly loves to shout, but I'm not here to play who's loudest. If she wants truth, I'll give her. And America the truth." He turned to Leavitt, locking eyes. "You call Obamacare a disaster. Millions of Americans got health insurance for the first time because of it. That's action, not empty words. Trump's deportation policy, it's not protecting anyone. It's cruelty masked as security. I've met families torn apart, kids crying as parents were dragged away. You call that protecting America? I call it heartless." The audience erupted in applause, cheers rising from Barack's supporters. He continued, his tone laced with sarcasm. "You can throw stats at me all day, but numbers don't tell human stories. You're too young to get that. Karoline." Leavitt laughed, the sound harsh in the studio. She leaned forward, cutting in before Barack finished. "Young? Maybe, but I'm not as naive as you think, Barack. You want to spin sad tales for tears? I'm not here for theater. You say Obamacare's a success? Millions lost jobs over skyrocketing costs. Small businesses collapsed. That's your legacy. Don't act like you don't know." Her voice hardened, eyes blazing. "Families torn apart? Ask American families who lost loved ones to illegal immigrant crime how they feel. Who do you choose, Barack? Americans or lawbreakers?" The crowd exploded again, half clapping, half booing. Cooper raised a hand. "Miss Leavitt, please let Mr. Obama finish." But Leavitt didn't stop, pointing at Barack. "You're not done? Fine. But I'll go first. You want to play morality? I've got truth, and truth doesn't need tears to stand." She gestured as if holding something invisible. "You call me heartless. That's reality, something you dodged for years." Barack shook his head, his voice still calm but now edged with steel. "Miss Leavitt, you can scream about reality all day, but your reality is twisted stats. My administration saved America from economic collapse, something Trump never grasped. His deportation policy doesn't solve problems, it creates chaos. You should know better than anyone that shouting doesn't make you right." Leavitt smirked, unfazed. "Chaos? You want to talk chaos? Look at the border under you, wide open to anyone who wanted in. Trump fixed it, and you can't stand that he did it better." She pulled another paper from her stack, holding it up. "Your last year, over 8,000 violent crimes tied to illegal immigrants recorded. You call that saving America? That's failure, and you're part of it." The audience grew loud, one shouting, "Right on, Karoline." Barack raised an eyebrow, holding his composure. "You like numbers? Then let's talk about the millions of jobs created under my watch. Something Trump brags about but never matched." Leavitt cut him off instantly, eyes sparking. Jobs? You mean the low-wage gigs Americans were forced into because of your failed policies? Trump brought real jobs back, manufacturing energy, not your number games. Cooper sighed, trying to break in. Both of you, please. But Leavitt ignored him, turning to the crowd. He wants to distract you with feel-good stories and cherry-picked stats. I'm here to say it straight. Trump acts, you just talked. You call me young. Fine. I'm young enough to see how outdated you are. Her voice sharpened, eyes daring Barack. You've ridden your old speeches too long. I don't need a boost to beat you, and I'm doing it right now. Barack tilted his head, his voice calm but cutting. Miss Leavitt, you can attack me, but it doesn't change the fact that Trump's administration is dividing this country. I don't need past glory to stand here. I speak from experience. Not anger. The audience clapped, but Leavitt laughed. The sound cold. Experience? You think experience beats truth? I'm not angry, Barack. I'm just saying what you don't want to hear. You divided the country. Look at the protests under your watch. That's division. She turned to Cooper. He wants to play emotions. I've got facts, and facts don't care about feeling. Leavitt raised her hand, ticking off points. Chaotic border, stagnant economy, Obamacare flop, that's your legacy, and you can't run from it. Barack opened his mouth to reply, but Leavitt cut in again. Not done. Every word you say just gives me more ammo to expose your weakness. I'm not here to lose. And you'll see I never stop. The studio shook with shouts from both sides, the air thick with tension. Cooper, face flushed, raised his hand again. We need calm. Barack took a deep breath, aiming to reclaim control after Leavitt's relentless assault. He turned to the audience, his voice low but carrying his signature calm. I'm not here to argue with anger. I'm here to talk about what really matters, a united America, not one torn apart by policies like Trump's. Leavitt can yell about stats, but I know Americans want leadership with vision, not just toughness. Leavitt laughed instantly, the sound sharp like a gunshot. She leaned forward, eyes sparking, cutting in before Barack finished. Vision? You think vision fixes problems, Barack? I'm not here to lull you to sleep. I'm here to say the truth you won't face. She raised her hand, voice iron. You want unity? Look at the violent protest under you. Ferguson, Baltimore. That's your unity. Trump brought order while you left chaos. Don't pretend you're the hero here. The audience grew loud, some clapping for Leavitt, others booing. Barack raised an eyebrow, staying calm. Miss Leavitt, you twist history to fit your story. Those protests were people crying for justice, something Trump's administration never understood. Leavitt didn't let him finish, slamming the table, voice biting. Justice? You call street violence justice? I call it your failure to lead. Trump cleaned up that mess, and you can't handle that he did it better. Cooper broke in. Ms. Leavitt, please let Miss Obama. But Leavitt brushed him off, pulling a small screen from her pocket, flicking it on for the camera. Here's proof. Video of Trump signing the border security order, his first week in office. That's action, not empty talk like you. She turned to Barack, a defiant smile. You spin unity tales for applause. I've got reality. Americans pick Trump because he gets it done, unlike you, who speechified and left everything in ruins. Barack shook his head, his voice sharper. You can play videos, but you can't deny Trump's induration is dividing this country with fear and anger. I brought hope, something you and Trump will never understand. Leavitt laughed loudly, the sound dripping with sarcasm. Hope? You call 8 years of failure hope? That's delusion. Trump brought jobs, security, and you sit there dreaming of a world that doesn't exist. She stood up, pointing straight at Barack. You want to talk division? Look at your immigration policy, wide open borders, criminals pouring in. Americans don't need empty hope. They need action. Trump delivered it. The audience erupted in shouts, one person waving a Trump sign, forcing Cooper to yell, "Please sit down." Barack tried to regain ground, his voice firm. Mrs. Leavitt, you can attack me all you want, but Americans know who really cares about them. Trump's deportation policy isn't action, it's unplanned cruelty. Leavitt turned to the crowd. He wants you to forget the truth, that he left America weak, vulnerable. I'm here to remind you Trump rebuilt it. And he can't stand that he did it better. Barack opened his mouth to reply, but Leavitt raised a hand to stop him. Don't bother, Barack. You spin stories to hide failure. I've got facts, and facts don't cry. Barack tilted his head, his smile fading, his voice trembling slightly for the first time. You think facts are everything. You don't get that leadership is about people, not just numbers. Leavitt smirked, her voice cold. People? You mean the people who lost jobs because of Obamacare? The people living in fear because of an unsecured border? I understand more than you think, and I'm here to protect them, not comfort them with platitudes. Cooper sighed, looking at the camera. We're witnessing an unrelenting showdown. Leavitt cut him off. Unrelenting even. You're damn right, Anderson. I'm not here to negotiate with Mr. Obama. She sat down, her eyes daring Barack. Want to keep going? Go ahead. Barack stared at Leavitt, his calm visibly wavering. He took a deep breath, his voice lower. Oh, Miss Leavitt, you can shout all you want, but the truth doesn't change. Trump isn't the answer. Leavitt didn't let him finish, jumping up again, eyes sparking. The answer. Trump's the solution. You're the problem. You spin stories to hide your weakness, but I've got facts, action, and victory. She turned to the crowd, her voice biting. This is why we elected Trump, not him, not empty promises. The audience erupted in applause, shouts of Karoline, Karoline, echoing through the room. Barack sat back, his eyes steely, his hands clenched white-knuckled, a clear sign of being outmatched. Cooper, panting, looked at the camera. We're witnessing something unprecedented. Leavitt didn't care, standing there, her eyes daring Barack. Want to keep going? Go ahead, I'll crush you. Barack stared at Leavitt, his confidence seeming to crumble. He took a deep breath, but said nothing more. Leavitt laughed loudly, her voice ringing out one last time. Game over, Barack. I'm the future. You're the past. And all of America knows it. The room shook with shouts. Cooper helpless, the tension peaking, signaling Leavitt had dominated her rival live on air. Anderson Cooper, nearly exhausted, wiped sweat from his forehead, his voice strained. We need to calm down, but no one listened. Barack Obama sat there, hands clenched, eyes steely, but the calm smile that once defined him was gone. Karoline Leavitt stood opposite, eyes blazing, a proud smile like a warrior who'd just felled her final foe. She raised her hand, her voice iron. Out of words, Barack. Good. I've made it clear Trump is victory, your defeat. Barack took a deep breath, trying to muster composure, his voice low and strained. Mrs. Leavitt, I'm not here to bicker with pointless aggression. I came to speak the truth, and truth doesn't need to shout to be heard. He turned to the audience, his eyes softening, seeking sympathy. Americans know who really cares about them. I don't need to stoop to prove it, but his words lacked their usual strength, a final effort to save face under Leavitt's relentless pressure. Leavitt laughed, the sound cold, echoing through the studio. She stepped to the table's edge, eyes daring. Truth, you're giving up because you know I'm right. Trump's the winner. You're the loser. She turned to the crowd, her voice steel. He calls me aggressive? Fine, I'm aggressive for Americans, for those abandoned under your watch. You want to talk caring? Ask the families who lost loved ones to immigrant crime. They don't need your hollow truth. They need Trump's action. The audience exploded in applause, shouts of Karoline ringing out. Barack shook his head, his voice weakening. You can attack me all you want, but I'm not playing this game anymore. He turned to Cooper, eyes tired. I've said what I needed to say. If she wants to shout, let her shout. It was the clearest sign of retreat. No more arguments, just an effort to hold on to dignity in defeat. Cooper nodded, trying to interject. Thank you, Mr. Obama, during. But Leavitt cut in immediately, her voice cold. No, Anderson, I'm not done. He wants to back out? Fine, but I'll make sure all of America knows why. She turned to Barack, a proud smile. That's running away. You can't face the truth that Trump did what you only dreamed of. You want to talk caring? I care about real Americans. The workers, the forgotten families, You care about your image, about your long-faded glow. Leavitt raised her hand, ticking off points. Soaring national debt, chaotic borders, stagnant economy, that's your legacy, and I'm here to expose it. The audience grew loud again, applause mixing with boos, one person holding up a Trump sign high, forcing Cooper to shout, "Please sit down." But Leavitt didn't care, turning to the crowd, her voice steel. He wants you to think Trump's the problem. Truth is, he and his administration are the problem. Trump's the solution. I'm here to defend him, to defend you, and I won't apologize for it. She pointed straight at Barack. You've lost, Barack. You can retreat, but I won't let you leave without admitting defeat. Barack looked at Leavitt, his hands relaxing on the table, his eyes now more empty than steely. He spoke slowly, his voice almost a whisper. You don't understand what leadership is, Karoline. I don't need to win this game to know I'm right. Leavitt laughed loudly, the sound harsh. Leadership? You call 8 years of failure leadership? I call it a joke, and Trump proved it. You don't need to win. Good. Because you've lost, and all of America sees it. She sat down, her proud eyes never leaving Barack, tapping the table lightly like a final mark. You want to back out? Go ahead. But don't forget, I crushed you tonight, and I'll do it again any time you dare open your mouth. Barack didn't reply, just stared ahead, his hands limp, his silence saying everything, a once unbeatable icon now outmatched. Cooper sighed, looking at the camera. This is an unbelievable night. We'll take a break. Leavitt cut in one last time, her voice cold. No need for a break, Anderson. I'm done. He's got nothing left to say. She stood, walking off the stage with proud eyes, leaving Barack sitting there, his glow vanishing under the studio lights. As the lights dimmed, the room still echoed with applause and shouts, but the showdown ended with a clear victory tilting toward Karoline Leavitt. Barack Obama left the stage in silence. His once commanding presence faded under Leavitt's shine. Social media erupted instantly, like a fire spreading across America. Within minutes of the show's end, Karoline crushes shot to the top of X's trending list, defying all predictions. Users posted clips of Leavitt holding up the screen, shouting about Trump's victory, with captions like, "She just took down Barack Obama, no mercy." One account wrote, "Karoline Leavitt is the Democrats' nightmare, young, aggressive, and fearless." Fox News jumped in fast, replaying Leavitt's domination with the headline, "Leavitt crushes Barack Obama in TV battle of the century." Sean Hannity appeared, voice excited. Karoline Leavitt is MAGA's new star. She didn't just defend President Trump, she flattened a Democratic icon with truth and grit. Commentators praised her sharpness. She's young, but she did what many wouldn't dare: face Barack Obama and win. Meanwhile, MSNBC tried to defend Barack. Joy Reid said, "Mr. Obama held his dignity against Leavitt's aggression." But their voices were feeble, drowned out by the wave backing Leavitt. An X meme spread like wildfire. A shot of Leavitt pointing at Barack was captioned, "When you call Trump a failure but get knocked out by a 30-year-old press secretary." Another clip showed Barack silent, hands clenched, with the note, "When you know you've lost but have to keep face." Trump supporters posted non-stop. Karoline just showed the nation who really leads. MAGA's rising, even neutrals admitted. She's aggressive, but she's got facts. Barack couldn't counter. The divide was clear, but the tide favoring Leavitt was undeniable. Less than an hour after the show, Donald Trump hit Truth Social, posting in all caps, "Karoline Leavitt is my star. She just crushed Barack Obama and showed out of America the truth." Fantastic. The post racked up thousands of likes and shares, cementing Leavitt's standing with Trump loyalists. A White House source leaked that Trump called Leavitt right after, laughing, "You made me proud, Karoline. No one did it better tonight." Meanwhile, Democrats tried to downplay the loss. Some Obama supporters posted on X, "He didn't need to stoop to Leavitt's level. Dignity still wins." But those words couldn't sway the narrative, a CNN commentator admitted. Leavitt won the optics. She's aggressive, but effective. Barack kept his poise, but it wasn't enough against that storm. Online polls popped up, with over 70% of viewers naming Leavitt the winner. A landslide figure worrying Democrats. On the streets, reactions were just as fierce. At a Texas bar, viewers cheered as Leavitt held up Trump's order screen. one yelling, "She speaks for us." At a New York cafe, a small group shook their heads. Barack shouldn't have stepped into this fight. Divided or not, no one could deny Leavitt left a mark. A young, fearless figure who took down a global icon live on air. Leavitt, after leaving the studio, faced a crowd of reporters outside CNN. In her black suit, eyes proud, her voice steel, she said, "I came to defend President Trump and speak the truth." Barack Obama thought he could mock him without pushback. He was wrong, and I proved it tonight. A reporter asked, "Do you think you were too aggressive?" Leavitt smirked. "Aggressive? I call it fighting for Americans. If Mr. Obama can't handle it, that's his problem." Barack declined interviews after the show, leaving quietly with his team. A source close to him revealed, "He doesn't want to keep fighting this. He believes the truth will speak for itself." But the truth, at least in the public's eyes tonight, belonged to Leavitt. Political analysts buzzed. Karoline Leavitt is a rising Republican star. This battle will shape her career. On X, one user wrote, "Leavitt just turned Barack into the past. This is MAGA's new generation." Another replied, "Barack lost because he wasn't ready for that kind of attack." Though Democrats tried to shield Barack, the wave of recognition for Leavitt was unstoppable. She'd crowned herself not just as Trump's defender, but as a new symbol of aggression and victory in American politics. The next day, Trump summoned Leavitt to the Oval Office. He stood, shaking her hand with a rare smile. "You did great, Karoline. No one took down Barack like you did last night." Leavitt nodded, her voice steel. "I did it for you and America, Mr. President." "He mocked you. I couldn't let it slide." Trump patted her shoulder. "You're my secret weapon. Keep it up, we'll go far." Leavitt left the room, eyes blazing with new ambition. Not just defending Trump, but building her own name. Back at her office, Leavitt prepped for the next press briefing. She stood before a mirror, adjusting her black suit. Eyes steady. The clash with Barack wasn't just a debate. It was the turning point that took her from a young press secretary to a symbol of the new conservative generation. She knew the public was watching. Not just in America, but worldwide. And she was ready for every challenge ahead. An aide stepped in. "Miss Leavitt, the press is waiting." She nodded, a faint smile. "Good, they'll see I don't stop." The story Karoline Leavitt claps back ruthlessly after Barack Obama mocks Donald Trump on live TV reflects a stark reality of life in the U.S. today. Political polarization, the media's role in amplifying conflict, and the power of youth in shaping the future. Barack Obama mocking Trump on The View represents long-held progressive values, while Leavitt, firing back on America tonight, embodies modern conservative aggression. This clash isn't just personal, it's a symbol of generational and ideological divides, evident from elections to X debates. Leavitt's triumph, backed by explosive public reaction and Trump's Truth Social post, shows how media and opinion can swiftly elevate someone to icon status in the digital age. The lesson, in a polarized society like today's US, preparation, confidence, and seizing the moment can shape your fate no matter your age or experience. Leavitt used facts, deportation stats, order videos, and an unrelenting attitude to overwhelm Barack. Despite his iconic status, it's a reminder that, whichever side you're on, mastering your argument and facing challenges head-on is key to surviving public battles. Yet Barack's retreat also teaches that sometimes holding dignity and knowing when to exit a fight matters more than winning at all costs. Learn from Leavitt, prepare thoroughly, as she did in the Oval Office, but also from Barack. Don't let aggression strip away your core values. In real life, whether debating at school, work, or on social media, blend truth and strength with tact to make your mark without losing yourself.